Hi everybody and welcome to Sociology at Leicester. I'm just going to give you today a brief overview of what we can offer you if you decide to study here. And after I've gone through my slides, you'll have a chance to answer questions in the Q&A section. And those questions will be passed on to me, and then I will answer them as best I can, or I'll pass you over to the details of somebody who can ask you a question if you've got something that's very technical. So my name is Patrick White. I am in my 22nd year at the University of Leicester, and I'm an associate professor. Before here, I worked at the University of Cardiff, and I also studied at the University of Bristol. And I mainly teach research methods and statistics, but I also teach a really exciting module which I'm teaching this semester called Education and Social Justice, that looks at what is fair in education. Just a little bit of context about the university. I'm sure you've heard this before if you've gone to any presentations by the university, but we're very pleased that we won Daily Mail University of the Year 2025. We've been shortlisted by other awards, and particularly relevant to you though is that we've been rated gold in the Teaching Excellent framework this year. So what happens is, just like schools have Ofsted inspections, we have our teaching assessed, and we've won the gold award, which means our teaching is as good as it gets around the country. And we're also in the top 30 of the National Student Survey, which is a survey which goes round to our third-year students to ask them to reflect on their experiences of university and to give us feedback on what we're doing well and what we could do better. In terms of the department, we actually scored first in the outputs in the Research Excellent framework. So that is a 5-yearly exercise which looks at how good we are as researchers. And in terms of our publications, we were the best in the whole country. We're 15th in the Guardian League table, and we have been teaching sociology here at Leicester for almost longer than any other institution in the country. So the sociology department was founded in 1954, but we were actually teaching sociology well before then. So we've been around teaching sociology in the UK since the very beginning. Now, I'm sure some of you will have done sociology before, but some of you won't have done. It's not a prerequisite to have done sociology before you study it at university. Not everybody gets the chance, depending on where you're going to school or college at the moment. So you'll know, if you've done sociology before, that it is a study of society, of social life, social change, and all those kind of things. It's interdisciplinary in that it's kind of got a little bit of geography, a little bit of history, politics, philosophy, psychology. So one of the things that made me interested in it when I first studied it was it kind of allowed you to take the approach that you wanted in terms of studying society. And most of our staff who teach you, and this is something that's very different from school, are actually people that do research themselves. So these are some of the books that we have published, and we publish articles and books, and we also publish textbooks which help students learn. So in there's a couple of textbooks which we recommend to you to read. So we're experienced not just in doing research and not just in teaching, but we also produce resources for other people to help their teaching. I've also got a YouTube channel, which I'm quite proud of, has over 1 million views now. And that's another teaching resource that people not just use in Leicester, like these books, but they will use it all over the country and all over the world. You study all sorts of things in sociology. It's a very broad topic. As you can see here, we study things like social class, we study things like gender, race and ethnicity, youth, the environment, sport, drugs, all sorts of different things. And we offer 2 different degrees that allow you to take some sociology. So there's our BA Sociology degree, which is just sociology all the way through. And also there's our BA Sociology with Criminology degree. So we are part of the new school of criminology, sociology, and social policy. So we work very closely with colleagues in criminology. And a few years ago, we decided it'd be a really good idea if we could have a degree, because some students want to do sociology and criminology. So this new joint degree that's been running a couple of years now allows you to mix the 2 subjects. So what does this look like in detail? Well, university is quite exciting when you study a subject like sociology, because you actually get quite a bit of choice in what you study. So when you're at school, you generally have to study what the teachers decide, unless you've got a special project or something like that. But in our 2nd and 3rd year of our degree, there's an awful lot of scope for you to tailor your degree and your study around the things that you're interested in. In the 1st year, we have core modules that everybody does. And that's because we don't know what you know about sociology already. So some people will have done sociology before. Some people haven't done sociology before. If you have done sociology, perhaps at GCSE or A-level, you can do it with different exam boards. So we don't know what everybody's studied or hasn't studied before they come. So the idea of the 1st year is that we get to grips with some basic sociology, some important topics, so that by the end of the 1st year, you're all on the same level. So the 1st year doesn't count towards your degree classification, it doesn't count towards your result. So it's important that by the time you get to the 2nd and 3rd year, you've got a good grounding in sociology. So you can see we do things like society and transformation, which looks at how society has changed. We look at power, privilege, and diversity, which looks at who gets what in society and how much they get. We do a really interesting module called Interpreting Key Texts, and that's taught by lots of different staff. So each week we have a different guest lecturer in who talks about a piece of sociological work that has been very influential on them. And so you get to hear about the interests of a wide variety of people from the department. We also do sociology in practice, which looks at the more practical application of what you learn in things like sociological theory, how it applies to real life. We look at race, ethnicity, and racisms. You might not know, if you're not familiar with Leicester, that this is the most diverse city ethnically in Europe. So it's a great place to study things like race and ethnicity. And we also have a module called Ways of Researching, which introduces you to the research methods that we use in sociology. Now, in the 2nd and 3rd year, this is where a lot more choice comes in. We have another research methods module called Doing Social Research. Then we have a Using Numbers in Social Research, which is my module, where I introduce you to a bit of statistics. Now, students generally get a bit nervous about that, but I try and make it as fun as possible. And we have little lessons and stats in 60 seconds that I have on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts. So we try and make that as painless as it can be. We have Bringing Sociology to Work, which ties in with employability. So we combine something that you study with getting you ready for applying for jobs and looking for jobs when you leave. And we have a first sociological theory module. In the 3rd year, we have another theory module, and you also get a chance to do your own research project. So you kind of do a dissertation or a real world research project where you go out and do some research on any topic that you like. Now, that's the first part of having a lot of choice. But if you see, what I've skipped over in the second and third year is the lists of optional modules. So these are the lists in the second year and third year where you get to choose which options you do. So there's one on work, employment, society, one on gender, one on the environment, one on literature and film, one on youth, one on football, one on the social psychology, health and illness, migration, drugs, social movements, so things like protesters, trade unions, all those kind of things, space and place, and education. So that huge list you pick from in the second and third year, so that the majority of the stuff that you do in the third year, including your research project, almost everything, are things that you've chosen. And in the second year, half at least of what you are doing are your own choice. So there's an awful lot that you can do to make your degree your own and to make sure you're staying motivated by studying things that you really enjoy. The sociology with criminology degree is a bit different because you pick and choose from different degrees. So you've got 5 core modules in the first year: an introduction to criminology, theories of crime. So they're the 2 criminology modules you do. And then you do 3 of the sociology modules that we talked before: sociology in practice, interpreting key text, and ways of researching. So you're kind of split 60-40 towards sociology in the first year. Then in the second year, you do 3 of the core sociology modules and 1 of the core criminology modules, which is the one on punishment and rehabilitation. So you'll do the 2 research methods modules as well that all sociologists do, and you do the live sociology module, and then you can choose in the second year from criminology optional modules. So criminal investigations, criminology goes to the movies, which is all about crime in film, 1 on terrorism, and 1 on sex and violence. And in the final year, again, we've kind of got a 50-50 split of core modules. You do your research project, which you can do either on a sociology topic or a criminology topic. You do a criminology module called Victim and Offenders, and then you can pick optional modules on football, psychology, migration, drugs, educational social justice, forensic science, hate crime, violence, and criminal justice and mental disorder. So one of the interesting things about the criminology degree is lots of our criminology lecturers used to work in the criminal justice sector. So either in the police, in prisons, in probation, things like that. So for example, the one on forensic science is taught by people who used to be forensic science scientists in like Cracker. Is Cracker a forensic scientist? Can't remember, not good on crime TV, but you're taught by people who've got real world experience of this. In terms of how you learn, it's a bit different to school. You have lectures and seminars and workshops. Lectures are kind of fairly big classes, probably bigger than you're used to at school and college. Seminars are much more like what you're used to when you've been studying already. So classes tend to be quite small, certainly less than 30, sometimes as small as 10. So you can get a lot of individual attention. Just like at school and college, you can go and see your teachers. They'll have regular office hours where you can drop in for a one-on-one session with them about your studies, preparing for your assignments, that kind of thing. We have employability skills embedded all the way throughout. So we're thinking about your careers from day one, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But we also realize that teaching and learning is different at school and college than it is at university. So we're careful in the first year to kind of bridge the gap by teaching you the skills that you need that you haven't already got to be successful students of at university. As I said before, we have a research-led curriculum, so most of the people who are teaching you will research those areas themselves. So they're actually experts doing cutting-edge research on exactly what they're teaching. We have lots of different ways of delivering our teaching. We have field trips, one-on-one tutorials, small seminars, bigger workshops, and most of the stuff that you learn is now available online as well. So your lectures, if you miss one, they're recorded, you can catch up online. A lot of the material that I have for my teaching is on my YouTube channel or TikTok or things like that. So there's various different ways that you can engage with the content that you need to in order to be successful. We also have quite a wide range of assessments. So our assessments are going to be pretty different from what you're doing at the moment. Our university is moving away from exams, so you don't have many exams. Any exams that you do have will be online. In terms of assessments, you can see in the red box, those are all sorts of assessments that we have. So you'll have traditional things like essays, but we also have things like an elevator pitch where you have to explain an idea in 30 seconds. We're going to get you to analyze policy. You might do some case study. You might be asked to make a video on your smartphone. You might be asked to write about your own life. All sorts of different ways of assessing. So all of these will be explained. It's nothing to be worried about or intimidated about. You'll get as much guidance as you need, but you won't just be sitting down writing essays or doing exams. We want to assess a broad range of skills and make sure that you learn in as broadest way as you can, and also that you're assessed in a broader way as you can, so that everybody's strengths are recognized in their assessments. You'll develop lots of skills on a sociology degree that are very valuable in the labour market. Doing research is a really valuable skill. Virtually every organization that is medium to large size will have people who do research for them, either internally or externally. So you'll learn to design research, to collect data, to analyze that data. You'll learn how to present your findings, to use different IT packages, either for presentation or for data analysis or for searching for literature, all kinds of things. So you'll learn to work independently, but you'll also learn to work in groups, because we have a lot of group work in our surveys. You'll also develop skills in things like photography, if you want, creative thinking, synthesizing literature. So depending on what options you pick, you might have all sorts of different skills that you can develop and take on afterwards when you go on to look for jobs. There is a chance for your 3-year degree to become a 4-year degree by a year abroad. So apparently we have destinations in every continent except Antarctica. So although the picture we see there has a penguin, which I believe are only found on Antarctica, and some people skating, you can't go to Antarctica, but you can go to somewhere in every other continent. So this is, obviously I can't list all the countries because there are lots of them, but this is something you can find out about. There's an email address there, but it's something you won't have to decide upon until you're halfway through your first year. So it's something you can think about, but it's useful to know that it's an opportunity that is available to you. So although leaving university seems like a really long way off, we start thinking about you leaving, unfortunately, as soon as you arrive. It's really important that you develop your employability as you go through your degree. Now, my research is actually in graduate employment, so the good news I can tell you is that most graduates from any subject find a good job in their 20s. But 97% of sociology students are in employment within 6 months after graduation. And with those skills I talked about, you will be very valuable in the labour market because of your research and your presentation and your writing skills. So the university has a dedicated career development service that you can engage with from day one. During Freshers Fair, they will have a stand. You could talk to them about all sorts of things, placements, CVs, work experience, whatever you want, but you will learn lots of these skills during your time studying with us. It's important, though, that you also recognize these skills, that you don't you do document all the things that you can do, so you don't sell yourself short. So if somebody asks you, have you got these skills when you're going for a job, instead of saying, I'm not sure, you'll say, oh yes, I learned that skill when I was doing my research project, or I learned that skill when I was doing a work experience. What do students actually do? Well, sociology doesn't really limit you, unless you want to be an engineer or a vet, in which case you're not looking at the right type of degree. You can go into virtually everything. Most graduates don't go into jobs that are directly related to their subject. So we have people working in the creative industries, management, health sector, cultural sector, charities, non-governmental organizations, the civil service, local government, international development, teaching, journalism, research, the police, public relations, data analysis, market research, all sorts of different areas of the labour market. So when somebody asks you, what can you do with a sociology degree? The answer is pretty much almost anything. In terms of wider support that isn't directly related to learning or employment, we have quite a lot to offer. So we have a Safe Zone app, which you can log into if you are on campus after dark or things like that, to let security know that there are people on campus or people working in a library. Campus security are on campus 24/7. We have a really good counselling service. We have Nightline, which is a nighttime helpline that you can call for any reason. The university chaplaincy also offers lots of support. We have regular well-being events for you to attend. You get a personal tutor who looks after you for what we call pastoral support. So that's anything related to your well-being. It might be academic, but it might be your housing situation or your travel situation or something like that. We have mentoring programs where you can mentor younger students or more junior students, or they can mentor you when you arrive. You can have a third-year student who looks after you and is somewhere to touch base when you have questions and things like that. And we have a really good learning development centre where you can go for individual support with generic learning skills. We've got some scholarships on offer. So going to university, unfortunately, isn't a cheap thing to do, but here are 4 examples of scholarships from everything from music, sports, to mature students. If you're interested in those, have a search on our website to find out in more detail, but if you think you're eligible for them, it's definitely worth applying. You never know. We also offer extracurricular summer programs. So lots of students go home over the summer, some stay in the city and work, but the university offers programs for you to participate in. If you want to do something a bit different, you can learn new language skills, you can meet people from different countries and different cultures, and you will develop skills and have a really good experience at the same time. When you graduate from the University of Leicester, we don't wash our hands of you. We like to stay in touch. I wrote a reference for someone recently who I taught more than 20 years ago. So we will write references for you. You can come back and use the careers service at any point in your future. So there's a lot of support that we offer. It's like becoming a member of a club for life. We don't forget about you, and we're always interested to see you and for you to come back. One of the things I most enjoy is when students come back and visit me, or I was presenting at a conference in London run by the Women in Science and Engineering organization, and one of my graduates was working there, and I hadn't seen her from years, and it was absolutely great to see her. So we do like to keep in touch. If you want to keep in touch and ask more questions in any detail about the course, you can do this at any time. If you forget to ask a question now and you're in the car going back or on the train and you think, oh, I should have asked that, if you may email Grace Sykes, who's our Director of Recruitment, on gs300@le.ac.uk, she'll be able to answer any questions that you have or put you in touch with people who can answer them if they're very specialist. We do have a new Instagram account that you might want to follow. There is generic information, but much more detailed information on the courses on our website. But if in doubt, just get in touch with someone at the university. Don't feel shy about asking any questions. Okay, well, thanks everyone for coming, and I hope this was interesting and informative to you, and do get in touch if you need to know any more. Bye-bye.